Day 234 of the Daily Stoic. Don't be miserable in advance. Quote, "It's ruinous for the soul to be anxious about the future and miserable in advance of the misery, engulfed by anxiety that the things it desires may remain its own until the very end. For such a soul will never be at rest. By longing for things to come, it will lose the ability to enjoy present things." Seneca, Moral Letters 98.5b-6a. The way we nervously worry about some looming bad news is strange if you think about it. By definition, the waiting means it hasn't happened yet. So that feeling bad in advance is totally voluntary. But that's what we do, chewing our nails, feeling sick to our stomachs, rudely brushing aside the people around us. Why? Because something bad might occur soon. The pragmatist, the person of action, is too busy to waste time on such silliness. The pragmatist can't worry about every possible outcome in advance. Think about it. The best case scenario, if the news turns out to be better than expected, all this time was wasted in needless fear. Worst case scenario, we are miserable for extra time, by choice. And what better use could you make of that time? A day that could be your last. You want to spend it in worry? In what other area could you make some progress while others might be sitting on the edges of their seat, passively awaiting some fate? Let the news come when it comes. Be too busy working to care. This is some very sage advice. And I don't know out there how many of you guys need to hear this today. But we live in a world that is constantly trying to scare you, trying to fear you into action or inaction. If you turn on the mainstream media news or anything like that, that's all they feed you. They want you to put you in a state of perpetual fear, in a state in which there is a good guy and a bad guy, and you want to be on the good guy team, whatever team side that is. It doesn't matter. The point is you are against something and you are for something. They are manipulating your mind. You see, I'm not for or against any of that. I just don't care. I'm trying to better myself every day, and in 99.99% of everything out there doesn't concern me that much. And I certainly, as the Stoics have said here, Seneca, don't be miserable in advance. Why would you worry about something in the future? Now, I can understand if you're having a performance or you have a big meeting that you've prepared for, fair enough. That's the butterflies, I think, are natural. But there's no need to allow that to hurt you or to suffer it. I think you can accept it for what it is probably the best way to look at this. But I find it fascinating how many times people will create these scenarios in their minds that just make them absolutely worse. You can talk yourself into sickness. You can talk yourself even into inaction. You can paralyze yourself by your own narrative. How crazy is that? One thing that rose up in my gut here that immediately came to mind when I read this passage, I'll read it to you right here. The pragmatist can't worry about every possible outcome in advance. Think about it. The best case scenario, if the news turns out to be better than expected, all this time was wasted in needless fear. Worst case scenario, you were miserable for an extra time by choice. This day could be your last. I sometimes think on that, and I can thank the Stoics for it. I sometimes think on, if this is my last, I want it to be a joyful day. I want it to be a day that I've spent time with my kids, my wife, my family. I've done work that counts. I've said positive things. I think that's all we can hope for every day. See you in Discord, MetaFam.